December 19th, 1944, 2:34 in the afternoon, Ardennes Forest, Belgium. The stone watchtower had been dead for 200 years. Belgian masons built it in the 1740s to watch for bandits on the trade roads. Napoleon's artillery cracked the eastern wall in 1815. Time and weather finished the job. By 1944, it was just ruins. Four walls of gray stone reaching 35 feet into the winter sky. No roof, no floor. Just a platform of collapsed masonry and frozen moss. Corporal Ezra Calloway crouched on that platform pressed against the western wall, watching a rail junction 750 yards to the northeast. He'd been there 58 hours. Ezra had killed 58 of them. The rail junction was critical. Three lines converged there. North line brought ammunition from depots in Germany. East line carried fuel and rations. South line moved reinforcements from reserve divisions. Every train had to stop. Switch tracks. Continue west. The switching station operator controlled everything. Kill the operator, the train stalled. Kill enough operators, the train stopped coming. Ezra had killed 6 operators in 2 days. His hands shook. Not from cold, not from fear, from understanding what he'd done, what he was still doing. He'd violated every standing order the United States Army had written about sniper employment. Never fire more than 3 shots from one position. Always relocate after engagement. Mobility equals survival. Static snipers are dead snipers. Ezra had fired 128 rounds from the same 35 square feet of frozen stone. He'd refused to move. Below, a new operator walked toward the switching station. Young, maybe 19. Feldgrau uniform, crisp and clean, fresh from Germany. Hadn't learned to move carefully yet. Thought he was safe this far behind German lines. Thought the Americans were miles away retreating in chaos. He was wrong. Ezra acquired the target through his scope. 6-power magnification. Custom mount his squad, Sergeant had liberated from a German sniper 3 months earlier. The operator's face filled the circular view. Clean-shaven, tired eyes, a boy doing a job. Ezra's finger found the trigger. He didn't know it yet, but if he survived the next 14 hours, he'd face a court-martial for what he was doing. The Army would threaten prison. Then they'd change their doctrine based on his choices. They'd revise their sniper manual, train thousands of soldiers in the method he was inventing in this frozen tower. Save lives in wars not yet started, but Ezra Calloway would never tell anyone about it. He'd go home, get a job repairing elevators in New York City, marry a bookkeeper from Queens, raise 3 sons, spend 52 years having nightmares every December. Die in his workshop at age 75 with the secret locked inside him. His children would only learn the truth from a letter he'd leave for his funeral, a confession written in his own hand, an explanation for the nightmares, the December silences, the way he'd lock himself in his workshop and not come out for hours. But that was decades away. Right now, in this moment, on this frozen afternoon in Belgium, Ezra Calloway had a simpler calculation to make. 1 German operator controlling the rail junction. 1 bullet in his rifle. 1 decision. He fired. The operator dropped. The train stalled on the main line. 48. 1934. Catskill Mountains, New York. Ezra Calloway learned to kill because his family was starving. Not the polite hunger of misted meals. The real kind. The kind that makes children's ribs show through their skin. The kind that turns a 12-year-old boy into a hunter, whether he wants to be or not. The Calloway family lived in a cabin 8 miles north of Phoenicia. 1 room, plank walls, shake roof that leaked when it rained, wood stove that ate firewood faster than Ezra's father could cut it, well out back that froze solid every January. Jonas Calloway had worked at the sawmill until 1929. $43 a week. Good money, steady work. Then the Depression hit. The mill closed. Jonas couldn't find another job. 5 years later, he was still looking. Ruth Calloway took in laundry. $4 a week when she could get it. Most weeks she couldn't. There were 4 children. Ezra was the oldest at 12. His sister Grace was 10. Twin brothers Samuel and Isaiah were 7. They ate once a day if they were lucky. Twice a week if they weren't. That's when Jonas taught Ezra to trap. Wire snares. Set them on game trails in the forest. Check them every morning before school. Squirrels mostly, sometimes rabbits. Each animal meant the family ate that night. No animal meant the children went to bed hungry. Ezra learned fast. He learned where squirrels ran, where they nested, what they ate, how they moved through the trees. He learned to read tracks in snow, to identify droppings, to find the paths they used over and over the roads worn into the forest floor by 10,000 tiny feet. He set his snares with patience his father didn't know he had. Then he'd wait, sometimes 3 hours, sometimes 5, motionless, watching. A 12-year-old boy sitting against a tree trunk in freezing weather, waiting for an animal that might never come, because if it didn't come, his siblings wouldn't eat. That's where he learned stillness. Not in the army, not in sniper school. In the Catskill Mountains at age 12, waiting for squirrels because his family was 2 weeks behind on the cabin payment and the landlord was threatening eviction. At 14, Jonas gave him the rifle, a Stevens Model 15, single-shot .22, bolt action, iron sights. The stock was cracked and wrapped with baling wire. The barrel was pitted from rust, but it fired, one round at a time. Reload between shots. Jonas handed Ezra 5 cartridges. "Ammunition costs money we don't have," his father said. "One shot, one kill. You miss, you waste a bullet we can't replace. You wound the animal and it runs off, you waste the bullet, and we don't eat. Understand?" See, Ezra understood. He practiced on fence posts until he could hit a 2-inch target at 50 yards. Then he graduated to live hunting. The first squirrel he shot he missed clean. The animal scattered up a tree and disappeared. Ezra felt his stomach drop. Wasted bullet. Wasted food. His father didn't say anything, just looked at him. That look was worse than yelling. The second squirrel Ezra hit, clean through the head. The animal dropped from the branch and landed in the leaves, dead before it hit the ground. No suffering, no waste, just quick, efficient death. His mother cooked it that night, stewed with potatoes and carrots from the root cellar. The family ate together, first hot meal in 4 days. Grace said it was the best thing she'd ever tasted. Ezra felt sick. He'd killed something, a living creature with eyes and breath and a beating heart. Killed it so his family could eat. The squirrel had been sitting on a branch, cleaning its face with its paws, completely unaware. Ezra had aimed, fired, erased it from existence. His hands shook while he ate. Jonas saw, put a hand on his shoulder. "You eat or it eats," his father said. "That's nature. No shame in survival. The animal had its life. We need ours. You did what you had to do. Don't let it haunt you." But it did haunt him. Every animal he killed haunted him. By age 17, Ezra Calloway had killed approximately 920 squirrels. He kept count in a notebook. Dates, locations, estimated distances. Average shot was 210 feet through dense Catskill forest. Longest shot was 430 feet, a gray squirrel on a high branch, wind blowing left to right, Ezra compensating for drop and drift. He never missed more than 1 shot in 20. He became the best young hunter in 3 counties. People asked him for advice. "How do you shoot so well? What's your secret?" Ezra never told them the truth. The truth was simple and terrible. He shot well because his family would starve if he didn't. Because missing meant his sister Grace went to bed crying from hunger. Because wounding an animal and losing it meant his brothers Samuel and Isaiah got weaker and sicker. Because every bullet was precious and every shot had to count. That wasn't skill. That was desperation. February 1937 changed everything. Jonas was logging, cutting deadfall timber to sell for firewood, trying to make a few dollars any way he could. The tree shifted wrong, caught his leg, broke the femur clean through. Doctor in Phoenicia set the bone, said Bonas needed 6 months recovery. No work, no income. The Calloways had $63 in savings. Rent on the cabin was $8 a month. Food for 6 people was roughly $12 a month if they were careful. Firewood, lamp oil, Jonas's medicine. They'd be broke by May, evicted by June. That winter, Ezra hunted every day. Before school, after school, weekends. He set snares, checked traps, shot anything that moved. Squirrels, rabbits, once a deer. He sold the venison to a butcher in town for $3. Kept the family fed for a month. One afternoon in early February, Ezra was hunting on the ridge above the cabin, temperature below zero, snow 2 feet deep. He'd been sitting against a hemlock tree for 7 hours. No movement, no sound, just cold and wind and the ache in his muscles. Then he saw them. Gray squirrels, a migration. 30 or 40 of them moving through the trees heading south toward warmer territory. More squirrels than Ezra had ever seen in one place. More food than his family could eat in a month. But he had one bullet. He picked the largest squirrel, male, fat for fall feeding, sitting on a branch 80 yards distant, cleaning its face, completely unaware. Ezra aimed. The wind was gusting. 5 miles per hour, maybe 6. Left to right. The bullet would drift. He compensated, aimed 6 inches left of the squirrel's head, waited for the wind to settle, fired. The squirrel dropped. Ezra ran to retrieve it, found it in the snow. Single shot through the skull. Perfect kill. He carried it home. His mother cooked it. The family ate. 2 weeks later, they made the cabin payment. Stayed in their home. Ezra's patience had saved them. He never forgot that lesson. 10 years later, in a frozen watchtower in Belgium, facing an impossible situation with no good options, Ezra Calloway would remember that afternoon. Remember waiting 7 hours in the snow for one perfect shot. Remember that patience wasn't a virtue, it was survival, and survival was all that mattered. December 1941, Pearl Harbor. Ezra heard about the attack on the radio, December 7th, Sunday afternoon. He was splitting firewood behind the cabin, 19 years old, still living at home, still hunting to supplement the family income. His father had recovered from the broken leg but never found steady work. The depression hadn't ended in the Catskills. It had just become normal. Ezra walked into town the next morning. Enlisted in the army by noon. His mother cried. His father shook his hand. Grace hugged him and wouldn't let go. The twins, now 14, wanted to know if he'd killed Germans. Ezra didn't know how to answer. He reported to Fort Dix, New Jersey 3 weeks later. Basic training was 12 weeks. Rifle qualification, close order drill, bayonet practice, gas mask drills. Ezra moved through it quietly, didn't stand out, didn't cause trouble, just did what he was told and tried not to think too much. The rifle instructors noticed him anyway. He qualified expert on his first attempt, 40 out of 40 shots on target at 300 yards. The range sergeant called him over afterward. "Where'd you learn to shoot like that, Calloway?" "Catskills, Sergeant. Hunting." "Hunting what?" "Squirrels, rabbits, whatever we could eat." The sergeant looked at him for a long moment. "You ever miss, sometimes? How often? 1 in 20, maybe 1 in 25. The sergeant made a note on his clipboard. 2 weeks later, Ezra received orders. Transfer to Camp Perry, Ohio, sniper school. He didn't know what that meant. The train ride took 18 hours. Ezra sat by the window and watched America pass. Factories, farmland, small towns, cities, a country preparing for war. Everywhere he looked, people were enlisting, training, building weapons, getting ready to fight an enemy half a world away. Ezra felt disconnected from it all. He wasn't a soldier. He was a kid from the mountains who shot squirrels to keep his family fed. What did he know about War Camp Perry was different from basic training. Smaller, quieter, focused. There were 23 students in Ezra's class. They came from all over. Texas, Montana, Kentucky, Michigan, farm boys mostly. A few city kids who'd grown up hunting in vacant lots and along railroad tracks. All of them could shoot. The instructors were different too. Older, combat veterans from the last war, men who'd been snipers in France in 1918, men who'd learned their trade killing Germans from trenches and shell holes and ruined buildings. They taught doctrine. "A sniper is not a murderer," the chief instructor said on the first day. "A sniper is a force multiplier. One man in the right position can stop an entire company, can disrupt operations, can create chaos, but only if he survives." The instructor paced in front of them. "Survival requires discipline. 3 shots maximum from any single position. Then you relocate, always. No exceptions. German counter-snipers are trained to triangulate your position from muzzle flash and sound. They're fast. They're accurate. If you stay in one place too long, they'll kill you." He paused, looked at each student. Mobility equals survival. Static snipers are dead snipers. Remember that. It might save your life. Ezra wrote it down in his notebook. 3 shots. Relocate. Survive. He followed the rule perfectly for 7 months. 1943. Europe. Ezra landed in England in April, Normandy in August, 2 months after D-Day. The fighting had moved inland by then. The beaches were secure. The hedgerows were hell. He was assigned to the 99th Infantry Division, squad of 12 men, Sergeant Declan Rafferty from Philadelphia, former steelworker, tough, fair, didn't take shit from anyone. Rafferty looked at Ezra's service record the first day. Sniper school graduate, expert marksman, Catskills hunter. He looked up. You ever kill a man, Calloway? No, Sergeant. You will, probably soon. You ready for that? Ezra thought about the squirrels, the rabbits, the deer, the way their eyes looked when the bullet hit, the way they dropped, the way his hands shook afterward even though he knew it was necessary. I don't know, Sergeant. Honest answer, I respect that. Rafferty handed back the file. You'll find out soon enough. Ezra killed his first German soldier 3 days later. Reconnaissance patrol, 2 miles behind American lines. German sniper in a barn loft, taking shots at supply trucks on the road. Ezra spotted him through his scope, watched the man adjust his position, saw the rifle barrel poke through the hay. Rafferty whispered, You got him. Yes, Sergeant. Take the shot. Ezra aimed. The German was 400 yards distant. Wind minimal, clear line of sight, easy shot by Catskill standards. Easier than a gray squirrel on a high branch. But this wasn't a squirrel, this was a man. Someone with a name, a family, a life. Ezra's finger hesitated on the trigger. Then he remembered what the German was shooting at. American trucks, American soldiers, men like Rafferty, men like the guys in his squad. The German or us? He fired. The German fell from the loft, landed in the dirt below, didn't move. Ezra lowered his rifle. His hands were shaking, not from recoil, from what he'd just done. Rafferty clapped him on the shoulder. Good shot, clean kill. That sniper killed 2 of our boys yesterday. You just evened the score. Ezra nodded, didn't trust himself to speak. That night, lying in his bedroll, he couldn't sleep. Kept seeing the German fall. Kept wondering if the man had a family. If someone back in Germany was waiting for him to come home. If someone would cry when they got the telegram. Over the next 7 months, Ezra killed 41 more Germans. He followed doctrine perfectly. 3 shots maximum. Relocate, survive. He became good at it, efficient, one of the best snipers in the division. Rafferty put him forward for commendation twice. Ezra refused both times. It's not heroic, he told Rafferty. It's just killing. I'm good at it because I've been doing it since I was 12. Different targets, same skill. You're keeping our boys alive, Rafferty said. That's heroic enough. Ezra didn't argue, but he didn't agree either. In November, he witnessed something that changed his understanding of the rules. Private Henshaw, 20 years old, kid from Iowa, good sniper, solid skills. Henshaw took position in a barn loft outside a village called Stolberg. German patrol approaching. Henshaw fired, 1 hit, relocated to different window. Fired again, 2nd hit, moved again, fired 3rd shot, 3rd hit, then he fired a 4th. Doctrine said, relocate. Henshaw stayed. Wanted 1 more kill. The German mortars found him in 90 seconds. Ezra was 300 yards away. Saw the barn explode, watched the walls collapse inward, heard Henshaw screaming. Ran toward the sound, got there in time to see Rafferty pull what was left of Henshaw from the rubble. The kid died before the medic arrived. Rafferty looked at Ezra. Doctrine exists for a reason. It's written in blood. Men die when they forget that. Ezra nodded, understood. Promised himself he'd never make Henshaw's mistake. He kept that promise for exactly 1 month. December 16, 1944. The Ardennes. The Germans attacked at dawn. 28 divisions. Tanks, artillery, infantry, a massive offensive through the Ardennes forest. Hitler's last desperate gamble to split the Allied armies and capture Antwerp. The Americans weren't ready. 4 divisions holding a 60-mile front, spread thin, undersupplied. The German assault shattered the lines in hours. Units scattered. Communication collapsed. Chaos. Ezra's squad was near a village called Krinkelt when the iron attack hit. They heard the artillery first. Distant thunder rolling across the frozen landscape. Then closer. Then all around them. The ground shook. Trees exploded into splinters. The air filled with smoke and screaming. Rafferty shouted orders. The squad fell back. Retreated into the forest. Found cover in a ravine. 12 men. No contact with battalion. No radio. No idea where friendly lines were. They were alone. For 3 days they hid, ate cold rations. Watched German units pass through the forest. Convoys, infantry, artillery batteries. A constant flow heading west toward the American rear. On the third day, Ezra went on reconnaissance. He moved carefully, using everything he'd learned hunting in the Catskills. Slow movement, patient observation, reading the terrain. He worked his way north along the ridgeline, found high ground, looked down into a valley, and saw the rail junction. 3 tracks converging at a switching station, trains arriving from the east, stopping, switching lines, continuing west, ammunition trains, fuel trains, troop transports, everything the German offensive needed to keep moving. The junction was 750 yards from a ruined watchtower on the ridge. Ezra studied it for 2 hours. The switching station was small. 1 operator at a time, manual controls. Every train had to stop, wait for the switch, then proceed. If the operator died, the trains couldn't switch. If the trains couldn't switch, they'd pile up on the main line. If they piled up, the entire supply chain would stall. 1 man in the right position could shut down the junction. Ezra went back to the squad, found Rafferty in the ravine, cleaning his rifle, looking tired. "Sergeant, I found something." Rafferty looked up. "What?" "Rail junction, 3 lines, switching station, 750 yards from elevated position. Clear sight lines." "How many Germans?" "Guard detail, maybe 20. Operators rotate every few hours. Light security. They think they're safe behind their own lines." Rafferty was quiet for a moment, thinking. "You want to hit it? I can shut it down, stop their supply trains, maybe buy time for our forces to regroup. You'd have to maintain position. Multiple engagements. Days, probably." "I know. That violates doctrine. Stay static that long, they'll find you. Mortars, artillery, counter-snipers." "Yes, Sergeant. You'd be court-martialed if you survive." "I understand." Rafferty studied him. Ezra met his eyes, didn't look away. Finally, Rafferty spoke. "Command says 3 shots maximum. Relocate after every engagement. Survival through mobility." "Command isn't here, Sergeant. They don't see what I see." "What do you see?" "An opportunity to kill enough Germans that our boys have a chance. That's worth the risk." Rafferty pulled out a cigarette, didn't light it, just rolled it between his fingers. "If you do this and they don't kill you, the Army will." "Maybe. And you want to do it anyway?" "Yes, Sergeant." The cigarette stopped rolling. "I didn't hear this conversation. You make your own choices. But if they come for you with mortars, you're on your own. I can't spare men to pull you out." "Understood." "And Calloway?" "Yes, Sergeant. Don't be stupid. Doctrine exists because men like Henshaw died learning it. You remember that." "I will, Sergeant." But Ezra was already planning, already calculating fields of fire, wind patterns, ammunition requirements, how long he could survive in that watchtower before the cold or the Germans killed him. He gave himself 3 days, 72 hours. After that, it wouldn't matter. He'd be dead or the junction would be closed. Either way, the mission would be over. That night, December 17th, Ezra climbed to the watchtower, brought his rifle, 20 rounds of ammunition, canteen, K rations, wool blanket, parachute cord to tie himself to the wall so he wouldn't fall if he lost consciousness from hypothermia. The ruins were open to the sky. No roof, just 4 stone walls and a platform of collapsed masonry. Cold wind blew through constantly, temperature dropping toward 0. Ezra found the best position, western wall, partial cover, clear view of the junction, 750 yards, long shot but manageable. He arranged his ammunition where he could reach it without moving his body, set the canteen within arm's reach, wrapped the blanket around his shoulders, tied the parachute cord around his waist and secured it to a stone pillar. Then he waited, watched the junction through his scope, counted trains, counted soldiers, counted operators, made his calculations. At 7:12 the next morning, December 18th, 1944, the first operator arrived for his shift. Young, SS uniform, walked casually toward the switching station like a man going to work at a factory. Had no idea an American sniper was watching him from 750 yards away. Had no idea he was about to become the first of 73 men who would die at that junction over the next 3 days. Ezra acquired the target, steadied his breathing, found the trigger, remembered his father's voice from a decade earlier. One shot, one kill. He fired. The operator dropped. The train stalled. And Ezra Calloway began the longest 72 hours of his life. The operator fell into the snow beside the switching station. Face down, arms spread, steam rising from the exit wound. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The German soldiers at the junction didn't react, didn't take cover, didn't understand what they'd heard. A rifle shot from 750 yards sounds different than close gunfire. Distant, muffled, easy to mistake for something else. The train sat motionless on the main line. Engineer leaning out of the cab, looking confused, waiting for the switch to change so he could proceed west. Then someone saw the body, shouting. Soldiers running toward the switching station. An officer barking orders. Men scattering, taking defensive positions behind rail cars and storage sheds. Rifles pointing in every direction, searching for the threat they couldn't see. Ezra watched through his scope, calm, patient, waiting. A sergeant approached the body, knelt beside it, checked for pulse, looked up, scanned the ridgeline. His eyes passed over the watchtower ruins without stopping. Just old stones, nothing threatening. The sergeant stood, pointed at 2 soldiers, gave orders. Ezra couldn't hear but could understand. You two man the switching station. Keep the trains moving. The soldiers didn't want to go, hesitated, looked at each other, looked at the body still leaking blood into the snow. The sergeant shouted. The soldiers moved. They ran to the switching station. Ducked inside, one of them grabbed the manual controls, started throwing switches to clear the stalled train. Ezra tracked him through the scope. Young, maybe 18. Hands shaking, kept glancing at the door like he expected death to walk through it. He was right to be afraid. Ezra fired. The soldier collapsed against the control panel, slid to the floor, left a red streak down the painted metal. The second soldier screamed. Visible through the window, backing away from his dead companion. Hands raised like surrender would save him. It wouldn't. Ezra worked the bolt, ejected the spent casing, chambered a fresh round, acquired the target, fired, 2 operators, 2 shots. 15 seconds. The train still wasn't moving. The German officer was losing his mind. Ezra could see it even from this distance. The man pacing, gesturing wildly, pointing at the switching station, pointing at the ridgeline, trying to organize a response to an enemy he couldn't locate. He sent 4 soldiers toward the station. Infantry, weapons ready, moving tactically, using cover. These weren't replacement operators. These were guards, escorts, men trained to fight. Ezra let them get close, waited until they bunched up near the station entrance, all 4 visible through his scope. Then he started shooting. First soldier down, the others scattered, looking for cover that didn't exist in the open ground around the junction. Second soldier down, running toward a rail car, didn't make it. Third soldier, fourth soldier, both dropped within 5 seconds of each other. 7 men dead, 7 shots fired. The junction was chaos. The train finally started backing up. Engineer reversing down the line, getting away from whatever nightmare was happening at the switching station. The cars clanked and groaned, brakes squealing. The whole train retreating east toward safety. Behind it, 2 more trains were approaching, following the same route, unaware that the junction had become a killing ground. Ezra counted ammunition. 13 rounds remaining, 20 rounds total, 7 expended. He'd need to make the rest last, no resupply possible. What he brought to the tower was all he'd have. Below, the Germans were organizing. The officer had pulled his men back, established a perimeter 200 yards from the junction. Smart, created distance between his soldiers and whatever was killing them. Now he was sending out scouts, small teams, 2 and 3 men, spreading out, searching the ridgeline for the shooter. Ezra watched them come. Patience, his father's voice in his head. The squirrel doesn't know you're there if you don't move. Stay still. Let them get close. One shot when it matters. The first scout team moved along the base of the ridge. 3 soldiers, carbines ready, eyes scanning the high ground. They passed directly below the watchtower. 70 feet down, never looked up, just kept moving. The second team was smarter. They stopped, studied the ruins. One soldier pointed, said something to his companions. They started climbing. Ezra shifted position, slight movement, brought the rifle to his shoulder, aimed down at a steep angle. The soldiers climbed slowly, careful, using rocks and trees for cover, taking their time. Good tactical discipline. They were 40 feet from the top when Ezra shot the lead climber. The man fell backward, tumbled down the slope, crashed into his companions. All 3 went down in a tangle of limbs and weapons and loose stone. 2 got up, started climbing again, angry now, firing blindly up at the tower, bullets sparking off stone. None came close. Ezra shot them both. Clean kills. They fell and didn't move. Below, the officer pulled everyone back. No more scout teams, no more probing attacks. Just soldiers dug in behind cover, waiting, watching. The junction sat empty, no operators, no guards, no trains moving. Mission accomplished. But Ezra couldn't leave, couldn't climb down and rejoin his squad. The moment he abandoned the position, the Germans would send new operators. Resume rail traffic. The junction would reopen. All those deaths would mean nothing. So he stayed. Watched the sun track across the winter sky. Watched the shadows lengthen. Watched German soldiers watching him from positions around the junction. Stalemate. By sunset, December 18th, Ezra had fired 38 rounds, killed 29 Germans. The junction had been enclosed for 11 hours. 3 trains were backed up on the main line. Ezra could see them through his scope, sitting motionless. Crews standing beside the tracks, smoking, arguing, waiting for orders. The temperature dropped with the sun, 4 degrees Fahrenheit, wind picking up, blowing through the roofless tower. Ezra wrapped the wool blanket tighter around his shoulders, drank water from his canteen, ate half a K ration bar, forced himself to chew even though he wasn't hungry. Hypothermia was the real enemy now. Not the Germans, not their bullets or mortars or counter snipers. The cold. The cold would kill him before any soldier did. He could already feel it working. Numbness spreading through his feet, his fingers stiff inside his gloves, his thoughts moving slower. Sluggish. He needed to stay awake, stay alert, keep his body temperature up. He thought about the Catskills. February hunts in sub-zero weather, waiting for squirrels in conditions just like this. He'd survived then. He'd survived now. But those hunts lasted hours, not days, and he'd been able to move, walk around, generate heat. Here, movement meant death. German eyes watching every stone of the tower, waiting for him to show himself. The moment he stood up, exposed his position clearly, they'd have him. So he sat, shivering, waiting for dawn. Around midnight, Sergeant Rafferty climbed the tower. Ezra heard him coming. Careful footsteps on loose stone. A whispered password. Then Rafferty's head appeared over the edge of the platform. Calloway. Sergeant. Rafferty climbed up, moved low, staying below the wall line, carried a canvas bag, set it down beside Ezra. Water, rations, extra ammunition. Don't know when I can get back up here. Thank you, Sergeant. Rafferty looked at him. Really looked. Saw the ice in Ezra's eyebrows, the blue tinge to his lips, the way his hands shook. You're freezing to death. Yes, Sergeant. Come down, we'll find another way. There is no other way. I leave it they reopen the junction. All those men died for nothing. You die up here, same result. Ezra didn't answer, just stared out at the junction, the dark shapes of trains on the main line, the German positions marked by cigarette embers. Rafferty was quiet for a long moment. How many are 29 confirmed? Jesus Christ, Callaway. They kept sending operators. I kept shooting them. They stopped sending operators. Intelligence says you caused a 6-hour delay in ammunition resupply to their forward units. That's American lives saved. You understand that? I understand I killed 29 people today. Sergeant, some of them were just doing their jobs, operating train switches, not fighting, not attacking, just working. They were enemy combatants supporting an offensive that's killing our boys. Don't lose sight of that. Ezra turned to look at him. The first one, the operator. He was lighting a cigarette when I shot him, cupping his hands around the match like my father does with his pipe. Just a kid going to work. I killed him before he even knew I was there. Rafferty put a hand on his shoulder. War's full of kids going to work. On both sides. You think those German bullets care if you're just doing your job? You think their mortars ask permission? We kill them or they kill us. That's the only math that matters. I know. I'm still here, aren't I? Rafferty nodded, squeezed his shoulder, started to climb back down. Sergeant, yeah, if I don't now make it, tell my family I tried to do the right thing. I don't know if I did, but I tried. You'll tell them yourself. Stay alive, Callaway. That's an order. Then he was gone. Descending into darkness, Ezra sat alone with the cold and the ghosts. He could see the first operator's face. Young, clean-shaven. The way he'd cupped his hands around the match, the way he'd fallen. Could see all 29 of them. Every face, every shot, every death. His hands shook. He told himself it was the cold. He knew better. December 19th. Dawn came gray and bitter. The Germans tried again at 5:18 in the morning. 31 soldiers this time. Full tactical formation. Skirmish line with proper spacing. An NCO directing them with hand signals. No shouting. No mistakes. Professional infantry executing a coordinated assault. They came from 3 directions simultaneously. East, south, west, converging on the watchtower. Using cover. Advancing in bounds. One element providing suppressive fire while another moved. Good tactics. Well executed. Ezra shot the NCO first. Leadership elimination. The formation wobbled. Soldiers hesitated. Looked around for orders that weren't coming anymore. Ezra worked the bolt. Acquired a new target. Fired. The soldier dropped. Return fire started. Dozens of rifles. Bullets hitting the tower walls. Sparking off stone. Ezra pressed himself against the western wall. Let them waste ammunition. When the firing slacked, he rose, aimed, shot another soldier. The Germans tried to rally. A corporal took charge, started directing fire, organizing a renewed push. Ezra killed him too. The formation broke. Soldiers retreating, some running, some crawling, some firing blindly as they pulled back. Ezra killed 4 more before they made it to cover. 19 Germans dead, 12 escaped. The junction stayed closed. At 10:30, the Germans brought up their counter-sniper team. Ezra saw them setting up on a ridge 900 yards to the northeast. 2 men, 1 spotter with binoculars, 1 shooter with a scoped Kar 98K. They found a position behind a fallen tree, got comfortable, started scanning the watchtower. Professional work, careful, patient. Ezra watched them through his own scope, studied their position, calculated wind, distance, trajectory. The spotter was scanning left to right with his binoculars, methodical, covering every stone of the tower. The shooter was behind him, eye to his scope, waiting for the spotter to locate the target. Ezra aimed at the spotter, led him slightly, accounted for the 900-yard distance, squeezed the trigger. The spotter's head snapped back, fell away from the binoculars. The shooter reacted fast, swung his rifle toward the tower, trying to acquire Ezra's position. Not fast enough. Ezra's second shot caught him in the chest. He slumped forward over his rifle. 2 more dead. But now the Germans had precise triangulation. They knew exactly where Ezra was, exactly which section of wall he was shooting from. Every muzzle flash gave them more data, better targeting solutions. At 2:34 that afternoon, the mortars came. Ezra heard them launch. Distinctive sound. 5 tubes, heavy mortars, 120 millimeter, somewhere in the forest to the north. Thump, 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 thump. 5 rounds in the air. Flight time approximately 15 seconds at this range. Ezra counted in his head, pressed himself flat against the stone platform, made himself as small as possible, covered his head with his arms, waited to die. The first salvo landed 60 yards east of the tower. 5 explosions, frozen earth fountaining into the sky, shrapnel whining through the air, trees shredding. They were walking the fire, adjusting aim. Next salvo would be closer. Thump, 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 thump. 15 seconds. Ezra prayed. First time since he was a child. Didn't know what to pray for. Survival seemed unlikely. Just prayed. The second salvo landed 30 yards east. Closer. Shockwave hit the tower. Stone cracked. Fragments pelting down on him. The sound was beyond noise, beyond hearing, just pressure and pain and the certainty of death. Third salvo would hit him directly. He waited for the launch sound, counted seconds. 10, 20, 30, nothing. 40 seconds, 50, no mortars. Ezra raised his head, looked toward where the mortars had been firing from, saw smoke rising through the trees, heard secondary explosions, ammunition cooking off. Later, he'd learn what happened. American P-47 fighter bomber on patrol. Pilot saw the muzzle flashes from the German mortars, dove, strafed the position with 50 caliber machine guns, killed the crews, destroyed the tubes. Pure chance, random luck. The pilot wasn't hunting mortars, just happened to be in the area, just happened to see the flashes, just happened to attack at the exact moment that saved Ezra's life. Ezra sat up, started laughing, couldn't stop. Hysterical, uncontrolled. He should be dead. By every tactical calculation, every probability, every rule of warfare, he should be dead. But he wasn't. Below the junction, sat quiet. The Germans had pulled back. No more attacks. No more probes. Just watching from distance, waiting for their mortars to do the work. But the mortars were gone, and Ezra was still alive. He checked his ammunition. 8 rounds remaining. Kill count 58. The sun was setting. Temperature dropping. His second night in the tower approaching. He ate the last of his K rations, drank water, wrapped the blanket around himself. Then the hallucinations started. His father appeared first, Jonas Calloway, standing at the base of the tower, looking up. Same clothes he'd worn logging, same broken-handled axe over his shoulder. Ezra, you're not real. Real enough. Come down, son. You've done enough. Can't. They'll reopen the junction. You're dying up there, freezing, losing your mind. I know. Then why stay? Because if I leave, those 58 men died for nothing. Jonas shook his head, looked sad. You became what you hunted, boy. Remember, you eat or it eats, but now you're the trap, sitting still, waiting for prey. How many more are you planning to kill? As many as it takes to accomplish what end the war. That junction's one supply line. They got hundreds. You think killing a few more boys operating train switches is going to matter? Ezra closed his eyes, opened them. His father was still there. I don't know if it matters. I just know it's the only thing I can do. You could come home, live. Let someone else do the killing. Someone else would die doing it. Maybe they got families. Maybe I'm supposed to be the one who doesn't come home. Jonas started to fade, dissolving into the shadows. You're not a soldier, Ezra. You're a hunter. Hunters take what they need and go home. Soldiers stay until the war's over or they're dead. Which one are you? Then he was gone. The first operator appeared next, the one Ezra had shot that first morning, still cupping his hands around the match, still young, still dead. Why did you kill me? You were the enemy. I was operating a train switch, that's all, just doing my job. Your job was helping kill American soldiers. Your job is killing German boys who operate train switches. We both following orders. What's the difference? Ezra didn't have an answer. More ghosts came, all 58 of them, standing around the base of the tower, looking up at him, silent, accusing. He knew they weren't real. Hypothermia, exhaustion, stress, his brain inventing torments. But they felt real, their eyes felt real, their questions felt real. He wrapped the blanket tighter, tried to stop shivering, failed, tried to sleep, couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw their faces. So he stayed awake, watching the junction, watching the ghosts, waiting for dawn, the longest night of his life. December 20th, the final day. At 8:47 in the morning, the Germans made their last attempt. 53 soldiers, 3 half-tracks with mounted machine guns, full company strength, not trying to be subtle, not trying to be tactical, just overwhelming force. Crush the watchtower, kill whoever was up there, reopen the junction. The half-tracks came first, engines roaring, machine guns firing, suppressive fire raking the tower, bullets everywhere. Ezra couldn't lift his head without getting shot. He waited. Let them get close. Let them commit. When the first half-track reached the base of the ridge, Ezra rose, aimed through the scope, found the driver's vision port. Small target, 8 inches wide, 700 yards. He fired. The half-track swerved, crashed into a tree, stopped. Soldiers poured out the back. Disorganized, exposed. Ezra shot 4 before they found cover. The second half-track tried to retreat. Ezra killed the driver. Vehicle rolled backward into a ditch. Tipped over. Men scrambling out. Ezra shot 3 more. The third half-track stopped. Commander realized what was happening. Started backing up. Machine gunners still firing at the tower. Tracers arcing through the air. Ezra aimed at the gunner, visible behind his shield. Slight angle, difficult shot. He fired, missed. The gunner kept shooting. Ezra worked the bolt, aimed again, fired. The gunner fell backward off the half-track. The machine gun went silent. Now it was just infantry, 53 soldiers reduced to maybe 30, pinned down around the junction, taking cover behind rail cars and storage sheds. Return fire sporadic, disorganized. Their attack had failed. Ezra kept shooting, methodical, patient, one target at a time. Bolt, aim, fire, bolt, aim, fire. The rhythm of it was familiar, like hunting squirrels in the Catskills. Find the target, calculate the shot, execute, different scale, same skill. By 10:15, the Germans were retreating, dragging wounded, leaving dead. The junction was a graveyard, bodies everywhere, burned vehicles, blood in the snow. Ezra counted the visible dead. 23, probably more wounded who'd die later, probably more he couldn't see from this angle. He checked his rifle. Out of ammunition. The last round had been his final shot. 128 rounds total, all expended. But it didn't matter anymore. At 4:15 that afternoon, Ezra heard American voices, shouting in English. Below the tower, friendly forces. The 2nd Infantry Division. Reinforcements finally arriving, securing the area, pushing the Germans back. Rafferty climbed the tower 20 minutes later. "Calloway, you alive up there?" "Yes, Sergeant." Rafferty's head appeared over the edge. Looked at Ezra. Saw the ice crusted in his beard, the blue lips, the vacant stare. "Jesus Christ. How long you been up here?" 72 hours, 30 minutes, approximately." "Can you walk?" "Don't know." Rafferty climbed up. Helped Ezra to his feet. Ezra's legs wouldn't hold him. Collapsed. Rafferty caught him. "I got you. Come on. Let's get you down." They descended slowly, Rafferty supporting most of Ezra's weight. At the bottom, other soldiers were waiting. Medic, squad mates, looking at Ezra like he was a ghost. Someone asked, "How many?" Ezra looked back at the junction, counted the bodies he could see, added the ones from previous days, did the math. 73 confirmed, maybe more. Silence. Men staring, not believing. Rafferty said, "You did it, you mad bastard. You actually did it." Ezra nodded, couldn't find words, just stared at his hands, still gripping his empty rifle, still shaking from something that wasn't cold. The debriefing happened in a farmhouse 5 miles west of the junction. December 21st. Morning. The building had been a German command post 2 days earlier. Now it was temporary American headquarters. Maps on the walls, radio equipment, officers running operations. Ezra sat at a wooden table. Still couldn't get warm. They'd given him coffee, hot food, clean socks. Didn't help. The cold was inside him now. In his bones, in his blood. Captain Warren Blackwell sat across from him. Intelligence officer, early 30s, West Point, looked like he'd never missed a meal in his life. Major Theodore Hastings stood by the window. Older, combat veteran from the First War, scars on his face, eyes that had seen things. Blackwell opened a notebook. Corporal Calloway, walk us through the engagement, start to finish. Ezra described it. Clinically, no emotion, the junction, the watchtower position, estimated ranges, fields of fire, kill counts per engagement, 72 hours. 73 confirmed kills. Blackwell wrote everything down. Hastings just listened. When Ezra finished, the room was quiet. Finally, Blackwell spoke. You maintained a static position for 3 consecutive days. Yes, sir. Despite standing orders requiring relocation after 3 shots maximum. Yes, sir. You're aware those orders exist to prevent exactly what almost happened. Enemy mortars targeting your position. Yes, sir. Yet you disobeyed them anyway. Ezra met his eyes. The tactical situation required adaptation, sir. The junction represented a critical supply route. Standard doctrine would have allowed the Germans unrestricted access. I made the decision I thought would kill the most enemy soldiers and save the most American lives. That's not your decision to make, Corporal. You're not an officer. You follow orders. You don't create new doctrine. With respect, sir, command wasn't present to assess the ground truth. I was there. I saw the opportunity. I took it. Blackwell's face reddened. By risking your own life against explicit orders, that's dereliction of duty. That's grounds for court-martial. Hastings spoke for the first time. It's also exceptional combat effectiveness. Both Ezra and Blackwell looked at him. Hastings walked to the table, put his hands on the back of a chair, leaned forward. 73 confirmed kills. Conservative estimate. Actual number probably higher counting wounded who died later. The rail junction was closed for 61 hours. We captured German logistics reports this morning. Their forward units experienced critical ammunition shortages December 19th through 21st, directly attributable to that junction being inoperable. He looked at Ezra. You delayed their offensive, gave our forces time to regroup, saved American lives. Measurable, quantifiable, real. Blackwell started to object. Hastings held up a hand. I'm not saying he was right to violate orders. I'm saying results matter. This is war. We're here to kill Germans and keep our boys alive. Corporal Calloway accomplished both, exceptionally well. He straightened up, walked to the window, looked out at the snow. Here's what's going to happen. Official written reprimand in his service record. Documentation of the violation. That follows him permanently. Anyone reviewing his file will see he disobeyed standing orders. Ezra nodded, expected. However, Hastings turned back. No court-martial, no reduction in rank. And we're forwarding this case to division sniper training for tactical analysis. If the method proves replicable under specific circumstances, we may need to revise doctrine. Blackwell looked like he'd swallowed glass. Sir, with respect, we can't encourage soldiers to ignore orders just because they think they know better. We're not encouraging anything, Captain. We're acknowledging that doctrine is guidance, not gospel, and sometimes circumstances require adaptation. The corporal got lucky. Those mortars should have killed him. Next soldier who tries this might not survive, but we can't ignore effectiveness either. He looked at Ezra again. You understand you should be dead. Yes, sir. The only reason you're not is because a P-47 pilot happened to strafe those mortar positions. Pure chance. Not skill, not tactics. Luck. I know, sir. Does that change your assessment? Would you do it again? Ezra thought about the junction, the trains, the ammunition that didn't reach German units, the American soldiers who lived because supplies didn't arrive. Yes, sir, I would. Hastings nodded slowly. Honest answer. Dismissed, Corporal. Ezra stood, saluted, walked out. The reprimand went in his file that afternoon. He was reassigned to division headquarters as a sniper instructor. Not a reward, a practical decision. If he'd figured something useful, better to have him teaching it than getting killed before the war ended. Between March and May 1945, Ezra Calloway trained 39 snipers, taught them tree positions, elevated platforms, patience, cold weather survival, how to calculate wind at long range, how to stay motionless for hours. He never told them about the nightmares, never mentioned that he still saw those 73 faces every time he closed his eyes, still heard the first operator's body hitting the snow, still felt the cold of that watchtower in his bones even when he was warm. In March, the Army published a revised field manual, buried in Section 7, Subsection 3, Paragraph 4. New guidance for sniper operations. In defensive positions with confirmed friendly support and favorable terrain, snipers may maintain static positions beyond standard 3-shot limitations, provided continuous reassessment of enemy counter-sniper threat and available extraction options. Legal permission to do what Ezra had done. The manual cited tactical analysis from winter 1944 to 45 operations. No names, no specific battles, no mention of rail junctions or watchtowers or 73 dead Germans. Just quiet acknowledgement that sometimes doctrine needed updating. Ezra never saw the revised manual, never knew his methods were being taught across the Army, never asked. On May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered. The war in Europe was over. Ezra received his Bronze Star in June. Award ceremony at division headquarters. Officers, photographers, speech about valor and exceptional marksmanship. The citation was carefully vague. For exceptional combat effectiveness in the Ardennes sector, December 1944, Corporal Calloway's precise marksmanship and tactical adaptability significantly degraded enemy logistics operations, contributing to the successful defense of critical positions during the German winter offensive. No mention of 73 kills, no mention of 72 hours, no mention of violating orders or near court-martial or doctrine changes. Just bureaucratic language that meant everything and nothing. They pinned the medal to his uniform, shook his hand, took photographs. Ezra smiled for the cameras, said thank you, felt nothing. That night, alone in his bunk, he took the medal off, put it in his footlocker, never wore it again. He rotated home in October. Discharge papers processed in November. Civilian by December. 23 years old, war veteran, trained killer. No idea what to do with the rest of his life. He went back to the Catskills first. The cabin looked smaller than he remembered. Older. His parents looked older too. His father's hair had gone completely gray. His mother moved slower, careful, like her bones hurt. Grace had married, moved to Albany. The twins were 17 now, nearly men. They wanted to hear war stories. Ezra told them nothing. I was infantry, he said. We fought. We won. That's all. His mother made his favorite meal, venison stew, same recipe she'd used when he was 12 and brought home squirrels. He couldn't eat it. The smell reminded him of blood. He stayed 3 days, then took a bus to New York City, got a room in a boarding house in Queens, started looking for work. No skills except shooting and killing. Those didn't translate to civilian jobs. He tried construction. Lasted 2 weeks. Couldn't handle the loud noises. Jackhammers sounded like artillery. He dropped to the ground, hands over his head, workers staring. He quit before they fired him. Found a job at a manufacturing plant, assembly line, repetitive work, didn't require thought, just showing up and doing the same motion 8 hours a day. Better, quieter, but the foreman was former Army, sergeant type, liked to yell. Ezra lasted a month before the yelling triggered something. He grabbed the foreman by the throat, slammed him against a wall, didn't remember doing it, came back to awareness with 3 workers pulling him off. They didn't press charges. Foreman said he understood. Combat stress happens to a lot of guys, but Ezra couldn't work there anymore. He found the elevator repair job by accident, walking past a building, saw a sign, maintenance technician wanted. union wages, benefits. He applied. The hiring manager was old, demum, too old for the war. Asked one question. You good with your hands? Yes, sir. You show up on time? Yes, sir. You comfortable with heights? Ezra thought about the watchtower. 35 feet up, 3 days, alone. Yes, sir. You're hired. Start Monday. The work was perfect, mechanical, precise, fixing things instead of breaking them. Cables, pulleys, motors, electrical systems. Everything had a right way to work, a logical sequence. No chaos, no blood. And it was quiet. He could work alone in elevator shafts. Nobody yelling, nobody shooting, just the hum of machinery and the satisfaction of making something function correctly. He was good at it, patient, meticulous. The same attention to detail he'd used hunting squirrels and shooting Germans now applied to alignment tolerances and cable tension specifications. By 1947, he was senior technician. That's when he met Iris. Iris Kowalczyk worked as a bookkeeper in the building where Ezra was repairing an elevator. 25 years old, Polish-American, dark hair, smart eyes, practical. She took the elevator every morning, 8 o'clock, always on time, always reading a book during the ride. For 2 weeks, Ezra worked on that elevator, extended the ride, found reasons to keep coming back, just to see her. Finally, she noticed, you fixing that elevator or cording it? Ezra looked up from his toolbox, face red. Fixing it, ma'am. Been 2 weeks. How broke is it? It's complicated. She smiled, knew exactly what he was doing. You eat lunch. Yes, ma'am. There's a diner 2 blocks over, noon. I'll be there. She was. They talked for an hour. She asked about his life, his work, where he was from. Eventually, she asked about the war. You serve? Yes. Europe? Yes. Want to talk about it? No. She nodded, didn't push, saw something in his eyes. Damage. Recognized it somehow. My brother was in the Pacific, Okinawa. He doesn't talk about it either, says some things don't have words. That's right. You have nightmares. The question caught him off guard. Too direct, too accurate. Sometimes. My brother does too. Every night, wakes up screaming, says he sees faces, people he killed, people he watched die. Ezra stared at his coffee. Does it get better? He says no, says you just learn to live with it. They sat in silence for a while. Finally, Iris spoke. I'm not looking for a hero. Had enough of that. Everyone wanting to date the girl whose brother was a Marine, wanting me to tell his war stories. I don't need that. She looked at Ezra. I need someone real, someone honest, someone who knows things are broken and doesn't pretend they're not. Ezra met her eyes. I can be that. Good. Pick me up Friday, 7 o'clock. There's a picture show. They married in 1948. Small ceremony. Her family, his parents. The twins. Rafferty came down from Philadelphia. Best man. Only person from the war Ezra stayed in contact with. At the reception, Rafferty pulled Ezra aside. She know about what? The watchtower, the junction, 73. No. You going to tell her no? Ezra? She doesn't need to know that. Doesn't need to carry it. I do that enough for both of us. Rafferty looked at him for a long moment. Your choice. But secrets eat you alive. I've seen it. I'll manage. Will you? Ezra didn't answer. They had 3 sons. Nathaniel in 1950, Silas in 1953, Ezra Jr. in 1956. Ezra was a good father, present, involved, taught them to fish, to fix things, to be patient, but he was distant too, emotionally, like part of him was somewhere else, somewhere they couldn't reach. The boys grew up knowing their father had fought in the war, knew he had a Bronze Star in a box in the garage, knew he didn't talk about it. They asked once, Nathaniel, age 12, school project about World War II. Dad, what did you do in the war? Ezra was working on a car engine, didn't look up. Infantry, Europe. Did you fight in big battles? Some. Did you kill anyone? Ezra's hands stopped moving. Gripped the wrench so hard that his knuckles went white. I did what I had to do. That's all you need to know. The tone in his voice ended the conversation. Nathaniel never asked again, neither did his brothers. Every December, Ezra changed. Started around December 15th, became quieter, more withdrawn, would lock himself in the garage workshop for hours. Iris would bring him dinner. He'd barely touch it. December 20th was the worst. Every year, same date. Ezra would call someone, 15-minute conversation. The boys never knew who. After the call, Ezra would go to the workshop, wouldn't come out until morning. They'd find him asleep in his chair, tools scattered around him, face wet like he'd been crying. Iris knew, never said anything to the boys, just cleaned up, made sure Ezra ate, held him when he let her. One night in 1966, she couldn't take it anymore. December, 2 in the morning. Ezra woke up screaming, thrashing, hands up like he was warding off something. Iris turned on the light, held him. Ezra, wake up. You're home. You're safe. He came back slowly, shaking, sweating despite the cold room. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just talk to me, please. 18 years we've been married. You've never told me what happened over there. But it's killing you. I can see it. Every December, every nightmare. What happened? Ezra was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. I killed 73 people in 3 days. December 18th through 20th, 1944. Belgium, Ardennes Forest. I sat in a ruined watchtower for 72 hours and shot Germans trying to use a rail junction. His voice was flat, emotionless. Some were soldiers. Some were just boys operating train switches. 18, 19 years old, just doing their jobs. I killed them from 700 yards away. They never saw me, never had a chance. He looked at his hands. The first one. I can still see his face, still see him falling. I've killed him 1,000 times in my dreams, all of them, over and over, every December. Iris held him tighter. They were the enemy. They were kids, some of them, kids following orders, just like me. What's the difference? The difference is you survived. You came home. You built a life. You're a good man, Ezra, a good husband, a good father. Good men don't kill 73 people. Good men do what they have to do to protect others. That's what you did. You said it yourself. You delayed their offensive, saved American lives. Does that make it right? I don't know, but I know you did your duty, and you've been punishing yourself for 18 years. Maybe it's time to let it go. Ezra shook his head. Nin, cannot let it go. They won't let me. Every night, their faces, asking why. I don't have an answer. Iris was quiet. Then she said something that stayed with him. Maybe there is no answer. Maybe some things just are. You did what you did. You can't undo it. Can't take it back. All you can do is live the best life you can with the time you have left. Be the best father you can be. The best husband. That's your redemption. Not forgetting. Not moving on. Just living well despite the weight. Ezra cried then, first time since the war, buried his face in her shoulder and sobbed. She held him until dawn. The years passed. Ezra worked, raised his sons, repaired elevators, taught Nathaniel how to drive, helped Silas with homework, went to Ezra Jr.'s baseball games. Every December 20th, he called Rafferty. Every December, the nightmares came. But he endured, day by day, year by year. In 1991, a military historian found him, tracked him down through service records, wanted to interview him about the Ardennes, about sniper tactics, about the revised doctrine. Ezra refused. I fix elevators. That's my story. But you changed how the Army trains snipers. Your methods saved lives in Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War. Don't you want recognition for that? No. Why not Oasis? Because recognition means talking about it. Talking about it means remembering. I remember enough already. The historian left, never published the story. Ezra went back to work. March 12, 1997. Ezra Calloway died in his workshop. 75 years old. Stroke. Quick. Merciful. Iris found him 2 hours later, sitting in his chair, tools laid out neatly on the workbench. Like he'd just paused for a moment, planning to get back to work. Gone. The funeral was small. Family, neighbors, a few guys from the Union, 3 old soldiers who'd served in the 99th Division. Rafferty came, 75 years old, wheelchair now, multiple sclerosis. But he came. They buried Ezra with military honors, flag on the casket, 3-rifle volley, taps played by a young soldier who hadn't been born when Ezra fought. The obituary in the local paper was 4 paragraphs. Ezra Calloway, 75, elevator repairman for 40 years, died March 12th at his home. Veteran of World War II 99th Infantry Division, survived the Battle of the Bulge. Loving husband to Iris. Father to Nathaniel Silas and Ezra Jr. Grandfather to 7, services Wednesday. No mention of 73 kills. No mention of doctrine changes. No mention of the Watchtower. Just another forgotten veteran. At the reception after the burial, Nathaniel was going through his father's desk, looking for insurance papers. Found an envelope taped to the bottom of the drawer, written on the front in his father's handwriting, "Open at my funeral." Nathaniel called his brothers. They opened it together. Inside was a letter, 5 pages, handwritten, dated February 1995, 2 years before Ezra died. Nathaniel read it aloud. "To my sons, you're reading this, I'm gone. Probably should have told you in person. Never could find the words. Writing's easier. You can't see my face. Can't see how hard this is." December 1944. Belgium, Ardennes Forest. My squad got isolated when the Germans attacked. 12 men. No radio. No resupply. Surrounded. I found a ruined watchtower overlooking a rail junction the Germans were using to move supplies. I took position there. Stayed for 72 hours. Killed 73 enemy soldiers. Most of them around that junction. The Army threatened court-martial. Said I violated every standing order about sniper operations. Then they changed their minds when the tactic worked. Changed their doctrine. Started training other snipers to do what I did. I never told you because I didn't want you to think your father was a hero. I'm not a hero. I killed people. 73 of them. Some deserved it. They were soldiers. They invaded. They were killing Americans. But some were just kids. 18, 19 years old. Operating train switches. Doing their jobs. I shot them from 700 yards away. They never saw me coming. She's held me through the nightmares for 49 years. Never complained, never judged, just held me. But you deserve to know. You deserve to understand why I couldn't talk about the war. Why I locked myself in the workshop every December. Why I'd wake up screaming sometimes. It wasn't because I was brave. It was because I was haunted. The Army gave me a Bronze Star. It's in a box in the garage. Never wore it. Didn't feel right. You don't get medals for killing kids who operated train switches. But I'd do it again. That's the part that haunts me most. Given the same situation, the same choice. I'd climb that watchtower. I'd stay 72 hours. I'd kill 73 Germans. Because it saved American lives. Because it delayed their offensive. Because it was the right tactical decision. Does that make me a good man or a bad man? I don't know. Your mother says maybe there's no answer. Maybe some things just are. I became an elevator repairman because I wanted to fix things instead of breaking them. Wanted to build something with the rest of my life. Wanted to be your father. Not some legend, not some war hero, just Dad. If you remember me, remember that. Not the watchtower, not the 73, just the man who fixed elevators and loved you. That's who I wanted to be, loved Dad. Silence when Nathaniel finished reading. Silas was crying. Ezra Jr. sat motionless, staring at nothing. Finally, Nathaniel spoke. We never knew. 52 years. He carried this alone. Not alone, Iris said quietly. I knew. Held him through it. Why didn't he tell us? Because he wanted to be your father. Not a war story. He thought if you knew, that's all you'd see. The killer. Not the man who taught you to fish. Not the man who came to your games. Just the sniper who killed 73 Germans. Rafferty wheeled his chair closer. Your father was the bravest man I ever knew. Not because he killed Germans. Because he chose to live with what he did. Chose to come home. Build a life. Be a good man despite the weight he's carried. He looked at each of them. I was there. December 1944. Saw what he did. That junction was killing us. Supplies pouring through, ammunition, reinforcements. Ezra shut it down, sat in that watchtower knowing he'd probably die. Stayed anyway. Saved lives. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. The Army changed their training because of him. I've talked to snipers who used his method in Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, still saving lives, still winning battles. Your father's legacy isn't just what he did. It's what he taught others to do. Nathaniel wiped his eyes. He never wanted recognition. No, he wanted to be your dad, and he was. Good one, too. You boys turned out right. That's his real accomplishment. Not 73 kills, 3 good sons. Iris put her hand on Nathaniel's shoulder. Your father used to say some things don't have words. I think he finally found them. In that letter. That's his gift to you. The truth. The weight. The question. He didn't want you to discover it from someone else. Wanted you to hear it from him. In his own words. She looked at the letter. He wrote that 2 years ago, when the doctors told him his heart was failing. Knew he didn't have long. Spent those 2 years trying to find the right words to explain, to make you understand. He wanted you to know he loved you, that being your father mattered more than anything he did in the war, that you were his redemption. The sons sat with that, processing, grieving, understanding their father in a new way. Outside, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the cemetery where Ezra Calloway lay buried. Bronze star in his casket, letter delivered, secrets finally told. Epilogue. The rail junction still exists. Route 265 now, paved highway through the Belgian countryside. Freight depot where the old switching station stood. Automated systems, no operators needed. Tourists drive through every day, never knowing. The watchtower ruins were demolished in 1978. Parking lot now, town expansion, progress. In 2003, the local historical society put up a small marker. Granite stone, 2 feet tall, site of defensive action December 1944. American forces delayed German advance here during the Battle of the Bulge. No names, no numbers, no mention of 73 dead Germans or 1 sniper who refused to move. Just acknowledgement that something happened here, something that mattered. At the United States Army Sniper School, Fort Moore, Georgia, instructors teach a module called Static Defensive Overwatch. The manual describes the tactic, when to use it, when not to, the risks, the requirements, the success rate. The instructors know where it came from, know the story, the watchtower, the junction, Ezra Calloway, but they don't tell students the name. Just teach the method, the patience, the discipline, the willingness to stay in position when everything says run. That knowledge has saved lives. Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Iraq, Afghanistan, snipers using Ezra's method, holding positions, disrupting enemy operations, coming home. His legacy, unnamed, unrecognized, effective. In a garage in Queens, New York, 3 brothers found a box. Inside, 1 Bronze Star medal. Citation for exceptional combat effectiveness. Ardennes, December 1944. And a photograph. Black and white, faded. Ezra Calloway in uniform. 23 years old. Eyes that had seen things. Carried weight. They framed it, put it on the mantle, told their children about their grandfather. Not the war hero, the man who fixed elevators, who taught them patience, who loved them despite the nightmares. The man who did what he thought was right, carried the cost for 52 years, never complained, just endured. That's the story they tell. Not about 73 kills in 72 hours. Not about doctrine changes or tactical innovations. About a man who survived, who built a life, who was a good father despite being haunted, who wanted to be remembered for fixing things, not breaking them. Somewhere in Belgium, snow falls on a parking lot where a watchtower used to stand, where a 22-year-old kid from the Catskills once spent 3 days alone, cold, terrified, doing what he thought would save American lives. Nobody remembers. The stones are gone, the junction automated, the war long over. But the method remains, taught to new generations. saving lives in conflicts Ezra Calloway never lived to see. His sons carry his name. His grandchildren carry his blood. His great-grandchildren will never know his story. Just know they come from people who endured, who did hard things, who carried weight and kept moving. That's enough. That's legacy, not monuments or medals or names in history books. Just quiet competence. Duty done. Life lived despite the cost. Ezra Calloway killed 73 enemy soldiers in 72 hours, then spent 52 years repairing elevators in New York City. Both statements are true. Neither tells the whole story. The whole story is in that letter. In those 5 pages written by a dying man trying to explain to his sons why he couldn't talk about the war, why the nightmares came every December, why he locked himself in the workshop and cried. The whole story is that war breaks people, and some broken people choose to build something anyway. They fix elevators, raise families, love despite the damage. They endure. That's not heroic, that's just human. And maybe that's enough. Ezra Calloway, 1922 to 1997, elevator repairman, father, veteran. The watchtower no longer stands, but the method endures, and 3 sons finally understand why their father woke screaming every December. That's all he wanted, to be understood, to be forgiven, to be remembered as more than the 73 he was.